The house stood old, a relic of a bygone era. Its walls whispered secrets of the past, and its windows seemed to watch us with a knowing gaze. It was December 2019 when we first stepped inside. The cold winter air bit at our faces, but we were filled with hope and excitement for a new beginning. The air felt heavy, thick with a silence that seemed to hum. Each step we took echoed through the empty halls, as if the house itself was alive and breathing. Excitement warred with unease as we explored our new home. The grandeur of the old architecture was undeniable, but there was an undercurrent of something unsettling. Little did we know, we were stepping into a nightmare. The house, with all its charm and history, held dark secrets that were about to unfold. From the beginning, the house felt strange. There was an eerie stillness that seemed to follow us from room to room. The lighting was always off. No matter how many bulbs we replaced, the lights would flicker and dim, casting long, unsettling shadows. Shadows danced in the corners even on the brightest days. It was as if the darkness had a life of its own, creeping and shifting just out of sight. A chill clung to the air despite the warmth of the season. It was a cold that seeped into our bones, making us shiver even in the comfort of our own home. We brushed it off as old house quirks. We were wrong. The signs were there, but we chose to ignore them, attributing everything to the house's age and character. The first night alone, I was jolted awake. My heart pounded in my chest as I tried to make sense of the darkness around me. A loud bang echoed from the basement. It was a sound so sudden and jarring that it felt like the house itself was crying out. It was a sound that resonated deep within the house's bones. The walls seemed to vibrate with the intensity of it, sending a shiver down my spine. Fear gripped me, cold and paralyzing. I lay there, unable to move, my mind racing with thoughts of what could be lurking in the shadows. I lay there, listening intently for any further sounds. The silence was deafening. Every creak and groan of the house seemed amplified, making my heart race even faster. The days that followed were a blur of strange occurrences. Objects would move on their own. Doors creaked open and slammed shut. The unsettling feeling intensified. I couldn't shake the sensation of being watched, of unseen eyes following my every move. Our cats, usually playful and mischievous, became withdrawn. They would sit, staring intently at empty spaces, their bodies tense. Their ears would twitch at the slightest sound, their eyes wide with fear. Something was deeply unsettling them. One evening, I noticed something truly bizarre. A shadow moved under the door, long and thin like a skeletal hand. It slithered across the floor, disappearing as quickly as it had appeared. It was unnatural, defying all logic and reason. A chill ran down my spine. The basement became a place of dread. Every time I ventured down, the air grew heavy, oppressive. The temperature would drop, sending shivers down my spine. The banging sounds continued, seemingly growing louder each time. One night, the banging reached a crescendo. It was as if something was trying to break free, its rage echoing through the house. I froze, my heart pounding in my chest. I knew then that we were not alone in the house. The realization hit me like a ton of bricks. We were living with something sinister, something not of this world. Fear became my constant companion, a shadow that followed me everywhere I went. The cats, our furry companions, became barometers of the paranormal. Their behavior grew stranger with each passing day. They would hiss at empty corners, their backs arched, fur standing on end. They were our protectors, our early warning system against the unseen forces that surrounded us. The shadowy figure under the door became a recurring phenomenon. It would appear at random times, always moving in the same sinuous manner. It was as if something was trying to reach us, to cross the threshold into our world. The house was no longer a home. It was a prison, a place of fear and uncertainty. We were trapped, living in a nightmare from which we couldn't escape. Section 5. Knocking from the Unseen Realm. The attic became another source of terror. Loud, insistent knocking would emanate from the dusty space above. It was rhythmic, deliberate, as if someone or something was trying to get our attention. The sound sent shivers down my spine. One night, I decided to investigate. Armed with a flashlight, I slowly ascended the creaking attic stairs. The air was thick with dust and the smell of decay. The knocking grew louder as I approached the source of the sound. As I shone my flashlight into the darkness, I saw nothing. The knocking stopped abruptly, replaced by an eerie silence. It was as if whatever had been trying to communicate with us had retreated back into the shadows. Section 6. The dark figure in the dead of night. Sleep became a distant memory. Every time I closed my eyes, I was plagued by nightmares. Images of shadowy figures and malevolent entities filled my mind, leaving me exhausted and terrified. One night I woke up with a start. A feeling of dread washed over me. I could sense a presence in the room, something dark and sinister. As my eyes adjusted to the darkness, I saw it. A tall, dark figure stood at the foot of my bed. It was shapeless, yet I could feel its eyes boring into me. I lay there paralyzed with fear, unable to move or speak. The figure remained there for what felt like an eternity before finally fading away into the darkness. Section 7. An unseen gaze from the closet's depths. The closet in my bedroom became a focal point of my fear. It was an ordinary closet by day, but as night fell, it transformed into a source of dread. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching me from its dark depths. The sensation was so strong that it often kept me awake at night, my eyes fixed on the closet door. Every time I turned my back, I could sense its presence, cold and menacing. It was as if invisible eyes were boring into me, making the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. One day, I decided to confront my fear. I couldn't live with the constant anxiety any longer. I threw open the closet door, expecting to find nothing but clothes and shoes. My heart pounded in my chest as I braced myself for whatever might be lurking inside. But as I peered into the darkness, I felt a chill run down my spine. The darkness seemed to swallow the light, creating an abyss that felt endless. The air inside the closet was ice cold, even though the rest of the room was warm. It was an unnatural cold, one that seemed to seep into my bones. It felt as if something had been lurking inside, its icy breath lingering in the air. The cold was almost palpable, like a presence that refused to leave. The feeling of being watched intensified. My eyes darted around the room, but they always returned to the closet, drawn by an unseen force. It was as if the entity had retreated deeper into the shadows, hiding from my view. Yet its presence was undeniable, a silent observer from the depths of the closet. Section 8. The Ouija's Ominous Warning. Desperate for answers, we turned to a Ouija board. We gathered around the board, our fingers trembling with anticipation and fear. As we placed our fingers on the planchette, the air grew heavy. The planchette began to move, slowly at first, then with increasing speed. It darted across the board, spelling out a chilling message: "Beware the Djinn." Fear gripped us, cold and paralyzing. The Ouija board confirmed our worst fears. We were not alone in the house. We were sharing our home with something ancient and powerful, something that was not to be trifled with. Section 9. Music of the Unseen. Feline Guardians. The paranormal activity escalated. One evening, our Alexa device suddenly sprang to life, blasting music at an ear-splitting volume. We rushed to unplug it, but the music continued, filling the house with its eerie melody. The cats, our furry protectors, were on high alert. They hissed and growled at the Alexa, their bodies tensed, ready to defend us from the unseen threat. Their eyes glowed in the darkness, reflecting the fear and uncertainty that had permeated our lives. The music stopped as abruptly as it had started. Silence descended upon the house, but it was a heavy, oppressive silence, filled with the weight of the unknown. We were living on a knife's edge, never knowing what would happen next. Section 10. The Quran's Calming Presence. In a desperate attempt to find peace, we turned to our faith. We placed a Quran in every room, hoping that its sacred words would offer us some protection from the unseen forces that tormented us. To our surprise, the Quran seemed to have a calming effect. The paranormal activity lessened in intensity. The house felt lighter, the air less oppressive. The cats, too, seemed to sense the change, their fear replaced by a cautious curiosity. While the Quran brought a sense of peace, it did not completely eradicate the paranormal activity. We still experienced strange occurrences, but they were less frequent and less intense. It was as if the Djinn were keeping their distance, respecting the sanctity of the holy book. Section 11. A House of Djinn. To this day, we believe that our house is haunted by Djinn. These mysterious beings have been a part of our lives for as long as we can remember. These supernatural entities, mentioned in Islamic theology, are said to be able to interact with the human world. They are often described as beings made of smokeless fire, capable of taking on various forms. Their presence is often associated with strange phenomena, unexplained noises, and a general feeling of unease. Lights flicker without reason, and whispers can be heard in the dead of night. We have learned to coexist with the Djinn, to respect their presence. Over time, we have adopted certain rituals and practices to keep the peace. We avoid angering them, and we try to maintain a peaceful atmosphere in our home. Certain areas of the house are off limits, and we tread carefully around them. While we may never fully understand these entities, we have come to accept their presence as a part of our lives. Stories of their interactions are shared among us, becoming a part of our family lore. Our house is a constant reminder that there are forces beyond our comprehension, realms unseen that exist alongside our own. The mist that sometimes envelops our home adds to the eerie atmosphere. It is a haunting experience, one that has forever changed our perception of the world and the unseen forces that inhabit it. Living with Djinn has taught us to be more aware of the mysteries that surround us and to approach the unknown with both caution and respect.